They look confident, composed, untouchable, the kind of person who doesn't seem to need anyone. But here's the truth most people never see. For the avoidant, success isn't just ambition. It's protection. It's the shield they use to survive closeness. Because love feels dangerous, but achievement feels safe. The hidden armor of achievement. They grew up in worlds where love was uncertain, where warmth was conditional, where tenderness came with strings attached. One moment, a parent smiled. The next, they withdrew. One moment, approval was given. The next, it was gone. So the child learned. Love is unpredictable. Love is risky. Love can vanish. But something else never vanished. Praise for performance. Recognition for effort. Applause for achievement. When they brought home an A, the room felt lighter. When they played well in sports, they saw their parent clap. When they stood on a stage, they felt, just for a moment, seen. Not for who they were, but for what they did. And that was safer, more controllable, less threatening. Because connection through achievement doesn't require vulnerability. It doesn't ask them to risk rejection. It doesn't ask them to need. It doesn't ask them to trust closeness. It just says, do more, be more, achieve more, and you'll be safe. So they built their life on that promise. Every certificate on the wall wasn't just an accomplishment. It was armor. Every late night at work wasn't just ambition. It was escape. Every polished version of themselves wasn't just confidence. It was camouflage. Success became the shield that kept the world from seeing the trembling heart underneath. But here's what most people miss. The avoidant doesn't chase success out of greed. They chase it out of fear. Fear of being ordinary. Fear of being dismissed. Fear of being unlovable if they're simply themselves. So they perform over and over, day after day, not because they're free, but because they're trapped. Trapped in the belief that without achievement, they will not matter. Think about it. Why do so many avoidants appear so calm, so independent, so focused on goals? Because goals don't break their heart. People do. A degree will never abandon them. A promotion will never betray them. A title will never shame them for needing too much. But love? Love has always felt like danger. So what does the world see? A high achiever, a perfectionist, someone driven. What they don't see is that every success is also a wall that says, you can admire me, but don't come too close. A wall that says, you can clap for me, but don't try to love me. Because applause feels safer than intimacy. Recognition feels safer than touch. Respect feels safer than trust. And so, the avoidant builds their empire of achievement. Brick by brick, win by win, shield by shield, until the world is convinced they don't need anyone. But deep inside, behind the shield, the story is very different. Behind the shield is a child who once longed to be held without condition. A child who once hoped that love could stay steady. A child who once reached out and felt the sting of withdrawal. And now, that child has grown into an adult who no longer reaches out. They reach up, upward toward success, upward toward goals, upward toward perfection, because upward feels safer than outward. But here's the tragedy. Success never fills the emptiness. It never silences the hunger. It never replaces the love that was missing. It only hides it. It only numbs it. It only convinces the avoidant for a little while that they don't need what they secretly crave most: connection. So when you see an avoidant thriving, climbing, achieving, excelling, don't be fooled. Behind the polished exterior, there's a story written in silence. A story that says, love hurt me, so I chose success instead. But the truth is, It was never a choice. It was survival. The cost of living behind the shield. On the surface, the shield looks strong. It gleams with achievement. It dazzles with control. It shines with admiration. But every shield has a cost, and the avoidant pays that cost daily. Because the same shield that protects them also imprisons them. The same walls that keep others out also keep them in. And the longer they wear it, the heavier it becomes. Think about the life of the avoidant high achiever. Their calendar is full. Their schedule is packed. Their to-do list never ends. Every day becomes a battlefield where the only way to stay safe is to stay busy. The hustle isn't just work. It's armor. The grind isn't just ambition. It's escape. Because as long as they're moving, they don't have to feel. As long as they're succeeding, they don't have to face the terror of intimacy. But the body remembers. The heart remembers. The nervous system remembers. No matter how polished the exterior, inside, the cost is felt. The cost is exhaustion. Not the kind sleep fixes, but the deep fatigue of living in survival mode. The fatigue of constantly proving, performing, pretending, because every achievement is followed by the quiet fear. What if it's not enough this time? And the avoidant pushes harder, and the shield grows heavier. The cost is loneliness, surrounded by colleagues, surrounded by admirers, surrounded by people who say, "You're amazing." And yet, when the room empties, silence echoes. Because admiration isn't intimacy. Applause isn't touch. Respect isn't love. They built the shield to stay safe. But the price of safety is isolation. The cost is anxiety. Because no matter how high they climb, it never feels steady. The shield whispers, "You're only as good as your last win." So rest feels dangerous. Vulnerability feels reckless. Slowing down feels like failure. They run on the treadmill of success, not realizing the treadmill never stops. And the more they run, the more they fear falling off. The cost is emptiness. Because when you trade love for success, the victories taste hollow. The applause fades. The titles collect dust. The bank account grows, but the soul starves. It's the gnawing ache of knowing. I did everything they said would make me valuable, and I still feel unseen. And yet, here's the cruelest part. The shield works. It does protect them from rejection. It does keep intimacy at arm's length. It does give them a sense of worth, even if it's fragile. So letting go feels impossible, because without the shield, they'd be naked, exposed, vulnerable, and that feels unbearable. So they stay inside it, year after year, win after win, until one day, the cracks begin to show. It might look like burnout, the body collapsing under the weight of performance. It might look like failed relationships, partners leaving, saying, "You never let me in." It might look like midlife despair, the realization that success didn't deliver what was promised. It might look like breakdowns in quiet rooms, where no one sees the tears. Because when the shield gets too heavy, the avoidant finally feels what they've been running from all along, the hunger for connection. But here's the paradox. The avoidant often doesn't recognize this hunger as a need for love. They feel it as irritability, restlessness, an emptiness they can't name. So what do? They double down, work harder, achieve more, polish the shield again, believing, if I can just do a little more, maybe the ache will go away. But it doesn't. It deepens. Because love cannot be replaced with success, no matter how much they try. This is the hidden cost. The world doesn't see. Behind the shield, they are exhausted. They are lonely. They are anxious. They are empty. But they smile. They achieve. They shine. And no one suspects that the very success others admire is the prison they can't escape. So the question becomes, how long can someone live behind a shield before it breaks them? How long can they survive on performance before the hunger for love breaks through? Because every avoidant eventually faces this moment, the moment where success stops being enough, the moment the shield grows too heavy, the moment the cost outweighs the protection. And when that moment comes, everything begins to shift. The cracks in the armor. At first, the cracks are invisible, small, silent, easy to deny. The avoidant tells themselves, I'm just tired. I just need to work harder. This is normal. But deep down, something begins to shift. Because no matter how polished the shield looks, it can't stay flawless forever. Pressure builds, weight accumulates, and even the strongest armor has limits. The cracks often show up in the body first. The body whispers what the heart cannot say. Sleepless nights, anxiety in the chest, panic that strikes without warning, headaches, stomach knots, the kind of fatigue that coffee can't touch. The shield may fool others, but the body refuses to be silenced. It carries the truth. This isn't working anymore. Then the cracks spread into relationships. Partners complain, you're never really here. You don't let me in. It feels like you care more about your work than me. Friends drift away, sensing the walls. Family stops asking, tired of hearing, I'm busy. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. The shield protects, yes, but it also pushes away. Until one day, the avoidant looks around and realizes the room is empty. The cracks widen in quiet moments. The plane ride home after a big win. The hotel room at midnight after applause fades. The weekend with no plans, where silence presses in. That's when the truth sneaks in. I have everything I thought I wanted, and I still feel hollow. Sometimes the cracks look like sabotage. The avoidant might quit a job suddenly, end a relationship abruptly, walk away from success without explanation. Not because they don't care, but because the shield feels unbearable, and destruction feels easier than vulnerability. Other times, the cracks look like collapse, the body breaking down, burnout so deep they can't move, tears in the dark that shock them because they've spent a lifetime never letting themselves cry. The collapse isn't weakness, it's the truth finally breaking through. Here's the paradox of the cracks. They're terrifying, but they're also a gift. Because the cracks reveal what's real. They show that the shield, as strong as it seemed, is not enough. They whisper, you were made for more than survival. You were made for more than applause. You were made for love. But for the avoidant, this realization is terrifying because opening up feels unsafe. Trust feels dangerous. And yet, the cracks won't let them go back. Once you see the emptiness, you can't unsee it. Once you feel the hunger, you can't unfeel it. The shield may still be in place, but it no longer feels like protection. It feels like suffocation. This is the breaking point of illusion. The moment success stops working as a substitute for intimacy. The moment the mask slips, even if only in private. The moment the avoidant realizes the thing that made them feel safe now makes them feel trapped. And yet, this is also the doorway, because the cracks, as painful as they are openings. They are the first signs that something deeper is trying to emerge. A longing, a need, a cry for real connection. But here's the truth. Most avoidants fight the cracks. They patch them, deny them, bury them, work harder to cover them up. Because admitting the cracks means admitting vulnerability. And admitting vulnerability means facing the very wound they've spent a lifetime avoiding. So the battle intensifies. The shield against the cracks the success against the emptiness, the survival pattern against the truth. But no battle can last forever. Eventually, the cracks win, because the heart was never designed to live without love, because no amount of achievement can erase the need for closeness, because the soul always remembers what it was created for. And when the cracks grow wide enough, the shield finally begins to break. The breaking point. Every shield has a limit. Every wall has a crack. Every runner reaches a point where their legs give out. For the avoidant, this is the breaking point. It doesn't come like a lightning strike. It creeps in quietly, until suddenly it's undeniable. The strategies that once worked stop working. The distance no longer feels like freedom. The busyness no longer feels like protection. The success no longer feels like enough. Instead, it feels like emptiness. It feels like loneliness. It feels like a hunger that never ends. The breaking point often comes in moments of stillness. The night they can't sleep. The morning they wake up and feel nothing. The day they hold the trophy, but can't feel joy. The silence that once felt safe now feels unbearable. And the avoidant is left face to face with the truth they've been running from. They don't just want safety. They want love. They want connection. They want someone to see them for real. But here's the paradox. The very thing they crave is the very thing they fear. So at the breaking point, they're torn in two directions. One voice says, run, shut down, go back to the shield. The other whispers, stay, open, let them see you. The battle feels unbearable. Sometimes the breaking point looks like collapse. Tears they can't hold back. Emotions spilling out, surprising even themselves. They cry in the shower, because it's the only place no one can hear. They shake in their car, hands gripping the wheel, trying to breathe through the panic. The shield has failed, and all the buried feelings come rushing to the surface. Sometimes the breaking point looks like confession. The avoidant blurts out words they never thought they'd say. I can't do this anymore. I don't feel okay. I need help. It might come out messy. It might come out angry. It might come out quiet. But for the first time, the truth escapes. Other times, the breaking point looks like reaching. They call the friend they pushed away. They open up, just a little, to the partner who's been waiting. It may not be eloquent. It may not be complete. But it's real. And it's raw. And it's the beginning. Here's the thing most people don't see. The breaking point is not failure. It's not weakness. It's not defeat. It's the first honest step toward healing. Because the breakdown is really a breakthrough. The collapse is really an opening. The tears are really proof that the frozen heart is thawing. For the avoidant, this moment is terrifying. Because for the first time, they can't hide behind the mask. They can't numb with work. They can't escape into silence. The need is exposed. The hunger is undeniable. The heart is on display. And here's the hidden beauty. This is where love finally has a chance. Because walls can't be loved. Masks can't be held. Shields can't be embraced. But a breaking heart, that can be touched. That can be met. That can be healed. The breaking point is the threshold. On one side, isolation, control, the endless, exhausting shield. On the other, connection, intimacy, the possibility of love. The avoidant stands trembling, caught between the two. And this moment, this fragile, terrifying moment, is where their story can change. The doorway to real connection. The breaking point leaves the avoidant trembling. It feels like the end, but it's not. It's the doorway. The doorway out of isolation. The doorway beyond the shield. The doorway into something real. For so long, they believed safety lived in distance. That silence was strength. That needing nothing was the only way to survive. But survival isn't the same as living. And at the doorway, they realize something powerful. They don't want to just survive anymore. They want to live. They want to feel. They want to love. Stepping through that doorway doesn't mean the fear disappears. The fear of rejection, the fear of disappointment, the fear of being too much. Those fears will whisper still, but they're no longer the only voice. Now there's another whisper, gentler but stronger. You're allowed to be seen. You're allowed to be loved. You're allowed to belong. Crossing the threshold doesn't happen in one dramatic leap. It happens in small moments. Answering the call instead of ignoring it. Saying, "I miss you," even when it feels risky. Letting the hug last a little longer. Telling the truth instead of changing the subject. Each moment cracks the shield. Each risk builds trust. Each step makes the doorway wider. And slowly, the avoidant discovers something astonishing. Kindness doesn't have to be a trap. Closeness doesn't have to mean pain. Dependence doesn't have to mean loss. Connection, real, steady, grounded connection, can feel like freedom too. This is where healing begins. Not when the shield is perfect. Not when they never feel fear again. But when they choose love, even while fear is still there. Because courage is not the absence of fear. It's the willingness to stay open, in the presence of it. For the avoidant, that's the real victory. Not the trophies, not the independence, not the shield, but the moment they finally realize they don't have to run anymore. And maybe this is where you come in too. Because if you've loved an avoidant, you know how heavy their walls can feel. You know the ache of their silence. You know the confusion of their distance. But you've also seen glimpses, those rare, raw moments where the wall drops and you see the real heart beneath. That heart is worth waiting for. That heart is worth loving. Not by chasing, not by forcing, but by standing steady, by holding space, by loving without giving up on yourself. Because when they finally step through the doorway, what they need most is not someone to drag them across, but someone who will meet them there. And if you've recognized yourself in these words, if you've carried the shield, if you've hidden behind success, if you've chosen distance over closeness, let this be the reminder. You are not broken. You are not unlovable. You are not too much or not enough. You are human, and your heart deserves to be seen. The shield kept you alive, but it doesn't have to keep you alone. You can step through. You can let yourself be loved. You can choose connection, because love isn't the danger. Love is the doorway. If this spoke to you, remember, you don't have to walk this journey alone. Like, share, or subscribe, so more people can understand the hidden world of avoidant attachment. And if this is your story, I hope you know you're already closer to love than you think.